There's a place called a gin mill way down in the slums. There's a place called a gin mill way down in the slums. My baby goes that night and stays till the morning.
Brendan, we're roll it out, man. Actually been recording for like a minute or so, so we can always what?
The good times are already rolling.
No, exactly. We like to do that. I like to sneak in and start the recording sometimes, just while people are chatting.
The man who doesn't edit the show loves to start the recordings whenever he feels like it.
I know.
Yeah, doesn't realize how what a pain in the ass taking off those first 10 minutes.
It's not that hard of a pain in the ass if you do your actual show start thing, you know.
Maybe you'd put flags in it.
All right, so here we go. All right, guys, how's it going?
Going good.
We are still down in Memphis, Tennessee, but we're at a very unique and awesome place. Where are we at?
We're at High Cotton Brewing.
High Cotton Brewing.
This is a fantastic facility.
This is awesome. This building is amazing. It's huge,
Yeah,
but very cool setup. Very, very, very cozy.
It's cozy,
big,
but it's a big
cozy.
giant warehouse.
Love it, though.
Yeah.
And we have Ryan with us today.
Hey, what's going on?
Good. And what exactly do you do at High Cotton?
I'd
little bit of everything?
Yeah, I'd say that my normal introduction is owner, brewer, floor sweeper.
Yeah.
Everything.
General.
Toilet washer,
Utility
whatever
guy
it takes,
for the
yeah.
building.
Exactly, yeah.
And we also have Cayleigh with us.
Hi, Cayleigh.
Hello.
Howdy,
Hey,
man.
Cayleigh.
What do you do?
I am the taproom manager.
Okay.
Well,
That's
she's
it.
got several.
That's it.
Several other.
She's like nothing.
Several other
Well,
titles.
yeah.
Yeah.
Sales, delivery, social media guru.
Event.
Really? Can we hire you?
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you guys right off the bat. You know, when we were coming down to Memphis, one of the things we got in the sun, and we only got a couple of days. We can only do a couple of breweries because usually by the afternoon we're pretty tanked, and we're not going to keep can't do too many shows in 3 days. So. But we said let's get a couple spots we know are good, and High Cotton was just coming up on everybody's list that we have to go to. So I'm glad we could come in here and appreciate it.
Flattered to have you.
I don't know. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely.
I have beer.
So
I'm
do you
good.
guys, it sounds like you do a lot here. Do you guys do your own distribution then? Because you said deliveries.
Yeah, it's pretty unique. I don't know that the state really knew that they created some sort of loopholes in the 3-tiered system, which I'm sure you guys are very familiar with traveling around. But so we like to think of it as like some sort of incentive microbrewery kind of plan. I doubt that was the case when legislation happened to pass this, but inevitably, what it allows us to do is self-distribute, bypassing the distributor, the second tier of the 3-tiered system. If we manufacture under 5,000 barrels a year and only distribute within the county that we manufacture in. But what that does allow us to do is make a little bit higher margin to get the ball rolling, because most people do know that the brewing industry is really, even on a craft level, it is about production and getting your numbers up to the margins where you can keep the doors open. So we're pretty fortunate here in Tennessee to have that. Now, contrary to that, we have the second highest barrelage tax in the country.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, relative to Mississippi, I think is $14 a barrel. I think
Dear God.
Arkansas is like maybe $7. Tennessee is $35.60. But anyway, I don't want to get on here and bitch about the tax.
No, that's fine. No, that's what it's for.
But I mean, but yeah, it's crazy. But thankfully, the state allows us to exist in this world that is somewhat monopolistic, but to a very low level. I mean, we're just kind of a hair on the fly's ass of the pig. You know what I mean? Like we're really not making a blurb in the big scheme of craft beer, but we think we're making good beer, and we're happy to be here.
So, I mean,
Absolutely.
And you
Everything we've
guys-
had so far has been fantastic. So
And you guys just recently were able to start making high gravity beer, right?
Yes.
New laws
That was
went into effect.
pretty recent.
It was. I certainly hate to steal the show, but yeah, Tennessee, the southern, I think, states, I don't know much about any other states, but we hear other breweries from around the region gripe about their, antiquated social, religious laws.
Bible Belt laws.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I don't want to be too insensitive to our Southern
that's
Baptist
okay.
brethren, but
No, absolutely not.
anyhow, the state in Tennessee described beer as a beverage, not by its ingredients, but by its alcohol content. So anything above 5% alcohol by weight, which roughly equates to 6% by volume, was considered wine and spirits.
Right.
Therefore, in a different tax bracket. just this year, the state has redefined what beer can be. Again, not by ingredients, but by alcohol content. And now they say it can be 8% by weight, which, depending on the style, now if you're making some crazy imperial stout that has a higher final gravity, you can technically get away with a little bit higher alcohol content. But if we're talking just layman's, we can get up to approximately 10% by volume.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's kind of where
Still
the cap
pretty up
is
there.
all. That's kind of where the cap is on everything. Indiana's about where's because Indy's
We
got.
don't have a cap.
Yeah,
Oh,
there's
we
no
don't- yeah,
cap. That's-
no.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get some 12, 13.
And for me, most of those, once you get that high, are
15%.
too damn sweet anyway. And
It's not even sweet. It's
it's just too much. You get
Well,
that
sickly.
You get the alcohol burn on them, and it's just
You
too
had
much.
any of those?
It's not a good flavor.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't
know-
had any that I thought, oh, that's a great 14%. It's just usually not.
Yeah.
It's usually too much.
I
There's
think
been
one
a
of the
few,
first
but-
one that comes to my mind is Dogfish has 120.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
Yep.
harsh. I mean,
It's
I like Dogfish Head, but that one just gets too much.
Yeah, they're 60 minutes much better. I think.
That's my favorite.
Yeah.
That was a game changer for me. But
Ah.
120 is. I'm glad they sell it by the singles. I mean, that's a lot of beer. That's a lot going on.
Yeah.
And I
Dragon's
accidentally
Milk's
gra-
way up there. See, and I'm a big fan.
I
I
was
do
gonna
like
say, there's a
Dragon's
few
Milk.
that are.
Yeah, so there's some exceptions.
Dragon's Milk is an exception. It's a great smooth beer and
It's
a
also
great flavor.
It's also a dark. It's a
yeah,
It's
yeah.
when
But it's
you're-
high content,
yeah.
but it's still good. I mean, but there's few of those that high that I think
Mm-hmm.
are that tasty and still delicious and smooth.
When did the laws change? Have you started? Do you have anything that you finished up in the high gravity range yet, or no?
We have.
I didn't know when. I forget. I know I saw it and I forgot when the law came.
January
in.
1.
Yeah.
Okay.
January 1, things kind of the door opened. So we've been small batch producing, quote unquote. I'm using the air quotes here. Sorry, guys. The high gravity.
I do it on the phone too when
Yeah.
I'm on the phone.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, but I couldn't resist. So anyhow, yeah, quote unquote, we're making high gravity. Although the state just now defines what we're making as beer, so it's
Right.
not technically high gravity anymore.
Did you
Yeah.
have a license before then?
No, we didn't. So that's the thing. If you make something that's over 8% by weight, you can then get it's technically a distiller's license, but they call it a high alcohol beer license. Same thing, same process, same tax.
Okay.
Inevitably, you're just registering as an additional manufacturer, and then you're registering these products so that they can be taxed at a different level. I mean, it all comes down to taxation.
Yeah, of
Nobody
course.
really gives a damn
Yeah.
what's in there.
The government just needs to make their money.
They do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we all get that.
Yep.
Well, let's dig into one of these because I'm dying of thirst, guys.
Yeah, I
And,
know.
this
You
got
guys
beer
are
for
like-
us, and
it's
I'm
like
like,
a-
I forgot to recharge my my big glass before we started up.
I started with the lager, which was delicious, by the way. I like.
Which
really
one was
like
that?
Oh,
I just had the lager before we
The
got
lager,
on the
that's-
pregame.
That's Ryan's.
I hate to
creation.
even talk about that beer.
I like
It's,
it.
No,
we called it-
we like stories.
We called it the edge of the craft. We were just we were playing around with just some adjunct lagers, throwing some corn in, trying to make an American light lager for the heck of it. Cayleigh gets folks in here, and God bless them. We love anybody that comes in the door here, but we get people that are like, so what's like Michelob Ultra?
Yeah, do
Yep.
you have Ultra? I need
Yeah.
a Coors Light.
You've got to have the conversion beers. We call
Yes.
yes.
Well, and what's funny though is that me and some of the other brewers and whoever else will sneak up there, and it's like, God, it's hot today. Give me one of those lagers.
Kind of embarrassed to
That's a
order it.
breakfast beer for me on a Sunday.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Brewers are embarrassed to order it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So anyway, we called it the edge of the craft because we were dabbling in those.
Mainline
Yeah.
beers, and yeah. Well, but that can win you, if you just put enough little tweak on it. Because a lot of every brewery we're at, I think, they always try to
you
make
have
one
to.
of those ones
Yeah.
that converts people.
The starter beers.
Yeah.
Slash
Starter
guilty
craft beer.
pleasure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, again, and we say it all the time. If those beers are good and fresh and crisp, and they have a pretty good line of beers. If that first one of that light beer is got a raw taste to it,
Yeah.
you usually got to watch out for the rest of them.
Yeah.
But you got to think, everybody needs a boat beer, too. I need a beer that
Yeah.
I can take
It's
out on the boat
exactly
and
that.
drink 20 of them that day because I'm going to be out on the lake all day.
Right.
Those are good for that. And I'm not ashamed to say that.
No.
If it's a good beer, it's a good beer.
Well, Brendan's got his guilt. We all still have an old-fashioned guilty pleasure beer. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
Brendan's like, they got nothing on, but they got a PBR.
PBR.
We're
Game
good.
on.
You know,
I won't lie, I drink Busch Light on the river.
because you can take care of it all day long, and so you're not drunk by noon.
I'm
Well,
also the girl who goes floating with a bottle of whiskey, though.
oh dear God.
So that's just her chaser.
Nice.
She's not telling you the whole
I'm
story.
telling you the whole story. There's Busch Light and there's whiskey.
Not only
That's a
does
different
she
story, yeah.
not only does she take care of us around here, she can outdrink most of us.
Very nice.
Practice liver.
Nice.
Practice liver.
We're gonna dig into the ESB for. I
Oh,
had this
yeah.
actually at the trolley, and I thought it was fantastic. Good.
It's so we tried to be stubborn when we first started this brewery. We kind
As
of
you
wanted to
should.
tell people what they should, what they should drink, and ESB is one of those styles that most people are starting breweries with IPAs and whatever other general style that is big in the craft, and ESB was something that we all kind of fell in love with just because it's a basic style. It's balanced. It's easy drinking, but still you can appreciate the tradition of the ESB and still feel like you're being part of something that was handcrafted. So I mean,
Right.
there's definitely some nuances to it, but it's I'm not gonna say it's a no frills beer, but it's definitely good, palatable.
It is
easy
very- yeah.
drinking, but it's still 6%, so
Oh, nice.
it'll get the job done.
Oh, absolutely.
It's we use a pretty traditional English yeast strain, some maris otter in that thing with a few specialty malts to give it a little bit of sweetness. Challenger is the main hop, actually the only hop. It's a first wort edition and then whirlpool editions. So no true bittering edition, no late editions, and then fermented around 68, and we end up with a 6% ESB. For those that not completely familiar with the style, it's extra special bitter. Just a
It's starting to see more of them now. I think
Yeah.
again the hop craze is starting to die down, maybe a little
bit,
bit.
yeah.
Hope, thankfully.
That's funny that you say that, and I hated to interrupt
No,
you, but
no.
it's super cool actually. It's almost finally 4 years later.
Yeah.
We've had a couple people that have come from out of town. I mean, I know Cayleigh's talked to a bunch of people that come from the left coast and maybe some from the northeast that are getting way hoppier stuff than they do down here in the south. And you wouldn't believe how refreshed they are to man, you've got an ESB. That's what I'm going for first.
Yeah.
Like,
Like,
they're
yeah.
they're so disinterested in IPAs that we're so proud of. Not that they aren't not that they don't like them, but it's like they're just so refreshed to have something that's balanced and traditional as opposed to some mega hop bomb from the West Coast.
They've burned us out up there on IPAs, I think, is the big deal. Even when we started the show 2 years ago, every brewery we went to was like, oh, you got to try our 6 IPA double hop, triple hop,
Yep.
and then eventually we're like, holy shit, can I just have a beer that doesn't taste like hops? Can I have a stout or an ESB or something that's not
But even
just
the
hopped?
ESB, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but it
Oh,
seems
yeah.
like even the people that are making ESBs are
Oh,
hopping
yeah.
them up.
They're getting-
They're not a real ESB to me.
They're throwing a
Yeah.
bunch of hops in the
right.
secondary, and I mean,
come
I
on.
appreciate a real ESB when you get one.
And for me, I can't do hops. Never my thing too. And too much of it. Can you serve this with a side of Benadryl, please? Because my allergies actually start to go crazy.
Hops are just a big to-do.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's also executing it correctly.
Yeah,
and you
exactly.
can get a IPA that's wonderful, and you get all these flavors. I'm really proud of these guys. Their most recent batch of the Island Wheat. I'm using Calypso
Killer.
Mosaic.
That's what I started
Is that
up
what you
with.
started with?
Yeah.
And you get the weediness of the beer, but you also get we're really proud of the tropical flavors you can pull out of it, and the hops this time around were just amazing. But you'll get some places that we put all these hops in there, and these are the flavors you're supposed to taste, and all I taste.
All you
It's
taste-
all hops in the
it's
first.
hops
They
and
burn
it's
you out,
chewy,
and
so
you
it's-
nail it with the flavor. And there's some awesome hops out there. And there's a great American hops,
Yeah.
but they throw too much of that shit in.
But yeah, if
and
all
you
I
can't
smell-
taste anything anymore. It's just
if
it's
the original
overpowering.
nose is all hops and the first taste is all hop, my taste buds are burnt. At that
It's-
point,
it's
you're
just
getting
about
nothing.
executing it.
You're getting nothing of the other craft they tried to put into it, which I understand they tried, but you have to have a really discerning palate for the IPAs, the hoppy beers, and all that.
And that's the unfun part about it. I mean, if someone gives you a description on a beer, then unfortunately you're going to be looking for it.
And
then if you're just struggling to look for it, then it's beyond craft beer to me, because then you're not enjoying it.
Yeah.
You're sitting here trying to analyze this thing, and you might as well have gone to a wine and cheese pairing, because it's
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
craft
Yeah.
beer is the American. is the next like American thing that states like kind of sets our culture.
Yeah.
And it's every man's affordable luxury. You know, an $8.99 6-pack is maybe a little more expensive than your 6-pack of Bud. It's something that any man can get behind as opposed to that $45, $60 bottle of, Cab Sav. You know? So, yeah, it's
no
like...
one wants to,
and
no
I don't
one
even
wants
have to
throw
put my
money at
pinky
the
in
big
the
guy anymore.
Yeah, so, I mean, if you throw all these great hops in there and you tell people to taste it and it should be like this, and then they're just struggling to find that... I'll use the air quotes again and some wine terms like the tobacco notes or whatever else. It's like
All rice.
A nice leathery finish.
yeah,
Yeah.
this tastes like wine. I mean, it's pretty good, but
It
Boone's
tastes like
Farm
the other
tastes pretty good,
fluids.
too.
Yeah, Boone's Farm's great when you need it. Like no lie, it's like everybody wine guilty pleasure.
Yeah, crack alcohol.
Yep,
Yeah.
totally that.
Break out the
It's like
checkers.
Purple Passion, the 2-liter bottle of Purple Passion.
What the hell?
Back to the CSB
You
though.
remember those?
No,
That is
I don't
very
remember
well
that.
balanced. It's
Thank you.
It's
Thank
a
you.
fantastic. Starts out sweet
Yeah.
and then goes straight to a little bit of hop.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very, very well balanced.
It's
You
a
guys
very
are hot.
approachable beer, and it's
Yeah.
for me in the tap room. You get a lot of people come in, and sometimes we don't have this lager all the time. What's your most approachable beer? Especially women.
Oh,
Women
yeah.
are still learning how to approach beer a little bit. Not all of them. There are
No,
some who
yeah,
walk in and
there's-
like, I want an IPA and I want it as hoppy as you can make it, and you kind of look at them like, I love them. I'm a hop head
Where's
too.
your leather jacket?
Exactly.
because come join the gang because you are a badass.
Like if you can do it, you can do it because women will.
Oh, yeah.
It's a natural thing. We will taste bitterness way more than
Oh,
men
absolutely,
do.
yeah.
So when like I'm all excited. But the ESB is this nice. They see the word bitter and they go, well, I don't want an IPA. It's like it's not bitter. Like trust me, it's the way it's an English style pale ale. It's the way it's been termed. Just work with me here, and you'll see so many people light up. It's just the Scottish ale gets the same reaction too, but that ESB has just been the best actual true stepping stone that we came out of the gate with, and being like, hey, we're starting into this game. We're providing you a craft beer, but we're not going to overwhelm you at first. It's perfect.
Are you
So-
seeing a lot? You must be seeing a lot more women drinking beer with the scene starting to pop up. I know in Indy that's a lot more women drinking beer now. They used to either drink Coors Light or they're drinking wine. Now you're seeing a lot more women, and I think it's because there's so many different flavors. It's not just a Coors Light or a Bud Light. There's actually some actual real notes to them now, and so I think that's the big a pull to get women into the craft brew
Well,
scene.
there's the flavors, and then there's the idea of a lot of times you take women on tours, and then once they start to see the process and kind of realize it's a really, ultimately on my side of the world, it's a really complex soup that you got to put everything in there correctly.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But no, they're starting to figure it out, and they're getting introduced to it. No, it's no longer when you go into a bar and somebody looks at you like, well, women automatically have to drink wine or some foo-foo drink. Like it's more approachable for women to do that. But there's a good amount of female brewers popping up.
Oh yeah, we got
Um,
friends.
there's a
Scarlet.
whole it's like a mini, I guess, brewing sorority called Pink Boots. It's awesome. And
Oh,
it's
I
all
didn't
these-
know about that one.
And then is it Jackalope?
Jackalope.
Jackalope has their head brewers are women, and it's really cool.
You're welcome, Bailey. When it's a little shameless
We've,
plug.
Yes.
for you.
we've
Shameless plug on our
got
end.
several of them in
Yeah.
Indy.
Yeah.
Scarlet Lane.
Scarlet Lane. Yeah.
Scarlet Lane's all female owned and
Yep.
operated. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And they're putting
And-
out some damn good brews.
Yeah.
I mean, they really are. I
one
think
of
there's
my
only been
favorites.
one by them that I haven't cared for, and the rest have been pretty good.
I got one of my favorites in town, Eric.
Oh, the Blood Vein.
Love that stuff.
Blood vein.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, you are starting to see, and you're starting to see more Ben conversions too. The guys who are like, just give me a Bud and I'm good. And now they're, we've had guys on the show, that's how they said that's how they drink. I'm not drinking that craft crap.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, just try this. We're like,
Did you see
oh,
that?
damn, that's pretty damn good.
We do have D here behind us.
Well,
Yeah.
there's
So we're
that.
trying to get him in the craft world, and he was drinking a freaking punch bowl on Beale Street last night.
Well, it's part of the experience. Like you got to have one just to try.
There's 7 guys with beers and then Punch Bowl Boy back there.
Did you guys see that?
To be
whole-
fair, I had a Crown and Coke for one of those.
Oh,
What's the best way to make it through a long work week? Take a midweek break and join the fun every Wednesday night at Allie's Ale House in Fishers for Nicos Open Stage. Want to share your talent in front of a live audience? Whether it's breaking in some new material or jamming out to some favorites, Nicos Open Stage is the place to go for it. There's never a cover charge, and walk-ins are always welcome. Each week brings a featured artist and drink specials from Jack Daniels. Check out Nicos Open Stage on Facebook for more details. And come join the fun every Wednesday night at Eilise Ale House, home of the boys of Blind Pig Confessions.
Did you guys see that thing that they were doing not too long ago? I haven't seen any in Indy or anywhere else I've ever been, but I've seen they're saying a bunch of people are doing it, where they're inlining in line to the keg was a basically a tube, but they stuffed it with, you could stuff it with fruit or whatever.
Randall.
Randall,
Yes,
yeah.
that's it.
Yeah.
We use those a lot around here.
No way.
Yes.
Really?
Crooked U is big on the Randalls. They like every Wednesday they have a new Randall. I think. that
Really?
comes out. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have not seen one yet.
It's it's a really cool process. Ours is.
It seems really neat, but it seems like it makes it a little bit more approachable to people.
I think
too.
Hopcat does. They do them too, I believe.
So it's as
think
you're
so.
serving it?
Correct.
Or, oh, okay.
So it's like a
It's a tea infuser. Oh,
kind of. It's
yeah,
like
essentially,
beer.
yeah.
Gotcha.
They started out
Okay.
in the wine industry as like a secondary inline filter.
Yeah.
To where they could catch like pits and stuff like that when they
yeah.
were transferring wine, and then guys have adapted them to almost be an infusion as opposed to a filter. Same idea.
Yeah.
You know, you're running a thing through a thing, and then get caught by a screen.
Yep.
So they're super handy and fun. I would say, if I'm talking to the general public, we prefer to know if you're going to run our beer through a Randall, because there's the flip side of this coin as far as Randalls, because sometimes beer bars around town are like, oh, this whole Randall thing's super cool. I'll just put whatever the hell I want in it and then serve XYZ's beers through it. It's like,
No, we have a product we're trying to maintain and a level. If you're going to do that, let us know and let us taste it first.
so yeah, they're cool to an extent. It's just kind of like, hey guys. Unfortunately, we have the liberty to do whatever the hell we want in it. I mean, I'll be honest. But at the same time, we have some people here in house that can explain why we did it and why it complements the beer, and explain to people that this is not the way the beer always tastes. Yeah. I mean, those are major components.
Yeah, our beer was not designed to be have it filtered through a Kiwi filter or something.
Right.
All of a sudden,
I think it's hard enough for breweries to have, when their stuff's at another place, you're already having to worry about the lines and how their cleanliness and to make sure that that product there is coming out like it should be. Because we've had things in places that didn't keep their lines clean and it doesn't taste right, but that gives a bad name to that. You're like, oh, I'm never going to try that
the
again.
beer's bad, yeah.
But it wasn't. They had a bad line. They had dirty lines.
We
and
got a
that's
popcorn pilsner.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, it's it's hard enough to worry about that kind of stuff.
It is.
This is a sour apple beer.
Yeah,
No, it's
yeah,
not.
yeah.
It's a rotted beer.
It rotted on its way there, to
Yeah.
the tap, right? Yeah, I hear you. That's crazy.
Yeah, we do see that sometimes. The breweries will do that. They'll have a bad batch, and instead of dumping it or doing something to it or correctly souring it, then they just serve it and they'll give it some odd name. And the general public doesn't know the difference most of the time. We go in and we go, wait a minute.
Yeah.
That green apple taste, I know what that is.
And there's always
But I've
some
had a couple
pleasant
that work.
mistakes, but
Yeah,
sometimes
sometimes.
it's just to get rid of it, and it's not very pleasant. But you get people to drink it. I
They
guess.
sucker people into it.
Well,
Yeah.
and that's kind of where we're somewhat fortunate with, we're not making a ton of beer to make it super profitable on the volume wise, but when things do screw up, we're able to kind of pick the pieces up, and it's not so much beer that it's not a great day that you have to dump some beer, and we don't do it very often. But when it is screwed up, I mean, that is your name on the line, and we can still recover from that. But I mean, some places just can't afford that, and it doesn't make it any better of a decision.
No.
But I do get it. I mean,
Yeah.
that beer's taking up tank time, and it's taking up man hours,
Oh,
and
yeah,
obviously tons of
absolutely.
ingredients. So I'm not sticking up for them. I mean, it's a bad situation, but
You can understand it.
Is
I
it-
can understand it for sure.
Is it
Brendan
worth
said-
the cost
yeah.
of the beer, or is it worth losing a bunch of customers because of it?
And that's the thing.
Depends
It's
on
really
what it
hard
is.
to it's really hard to weigh out the end result when cash flow is king in the brewery
Well,
industry.
absolutely.
Yeah, and if
And
you're
especially
starting
at
up and
This
you
level,
know,
I mean, it seems like it
it's-
would have to be.
It's cash flow is king. I mean, it's just, I don't know how all the breweries work, but yeah, I mean, a lot of days you want to make sure that there's enough money coming in and out just to pay bills. So
We have a brewer friend up in Indiana, and he had a bad batch, and he turned into what he called the Queen of Tarts. it was or whatever it was called, something like
No,
that.
Queen of
Yeah.
Tarts, yeah.
Yeah.
you're right.
It turned out to be a phenomenal beer. I mean, it was
Yeah, it
delicious.
was really good.
And it was a mistake, but he took it back in and he did some other stuff. He purposely soured it a little bit.
Yeah.
He turned it into something phenomenal, even though it was a mistake. But he took the time to do that. He didn't just say, it's off, I'm going to serve it. He took it back, he reworked it, and he made it into something drinkable, which is was phenomenal.
The Lagunitas, their brown sugar, then the Sucks was a bad batch that ended up overselling the original beer because it was so good. So,
What is your capacity here at High Cotton? What are you're talking about? We're talking about how much you have to waste if something goes bad and throw it away. What are you guys brewing?
We brew 7 barrels at a time.
Okay.
And annual production last year was a little over 1,700 barrels. And we've got now, we added some 30-barrel tanks last year in the spring, but now we have the fermentation capacity for a little over 160 barrels at a time.
Ooh.
So.
Nice. Very nice. So we ready to move on to our second beer here?
Yeah, you guys are
Absolutely.
foaming at the
I'm
mouth.
already ahead of you.
He's tried them all already.
Yeah, he's I couldn't wait.
That's our
Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, this is our Scottish ale. Very traditional style. I really got obsessed with this particular style when I was homebrewing. When I was homebrewing and didn't have a brewery. And it's a pretty, I hate to say unique style, but it's a delicate style because it's got to still finish clean, but it's got a big mouthfeel, a lot of toffee, a lot of caramel, some slight roastiness to it, but inevitably it should still finish clean, and it's all from cold fermentation. We ferment this thing around 60 degrees, which is stylistically appropriate and traditionally accurate. But
barrel or no barrel?
No barrel.
No barrel age.
No barrel.
I was tasting a little. Yeah.
It has almost an oaky taste to it. I know what you're saying there. It does.
It's good.
It's very, very good.
The grain
Not big on
complements
the-
itself
yeah.
well.
Yeah.
It's definitely a malt-driven beer. Still nothing high alcohol. I mean, it doesn't ever finish any more than 5.5%. Easy drinker.
Mm-hmm.
We sell this beer in the ESB year-round, and that Scottish most often tries to creep up and outsell that ESB. It's unbelievable.
Scottish is not one of my favorite styles of beer, but this one is very, very clean.
Mm-hmm.
I have found other Scotches. I like Scottish 80 beer and stuff, but this one's clean. I mean, it just has that really crisp, clean taste and feel to it. Very good.
That's what they're all about. I mean, I guess I wasn't around 300 years ago in Scotland, but historic
time traveled.
Yeah, exactly. Historically, from what I've read, this is the way I perceive the style, and I have had some other ones that have been, in my opinion, more bland.
Yeah.
I think some people when people are familiar with the style, it's just kind of a no frills. They're just kind of disappointed with it, but I think ours has got a big flavor profile on
It
it.
absolutely does. It changes completely throughout the mouth. So
Well, a big national type one would be Old Chub.
Old Chub.
And it's not good.
can we go a show
I just
talking
don't like
about
it. We haven't talked about Old Chub in a long time, actually. It's been
feels like we always
numerous
talk about
shows.
That's what we call you. It's okay.
But no, seriously, it's I don't like it at all. But this is phenomenal. That one, no.
Well, and we hate ratting on any brewer, but the Dale stuff, I just haven't had any that I care for. They all have a weird aftertaste.
They do,
to them.
yeah.
There's something about that beer that I just.
Well, it's made in that same bathtub.
Yeah,
that they did in college.
I get like a slimy finish off them. I just haven't had any that I've cared for. But
Yeah,
some people
no.
absolutely love Dale. So I mean,
And sometimes you have to
Yellow
compare
Pill
a bad beer to a good beer for people to understand what you're talking about. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to diss
Well,
on
again, it's your
Dale's
palate.
Brewery. I'm just saying
like I
I'm
said,
personally not a fan of Old Chub, and I like this one.
there's people that we know
pretty
now
simple
that
comparison.
love butter beer. I mean,
Yeah.
they're out there. They're just
This is a
Teach your own.
popcorn Pilsner.
There's those weirdos that like those
Yep.
sour beers.
Shut up.
Is there any cocoa in this?
No,
I'm getting
absolutely
a little chocolate
not.
out of it.
It's the
That's
roasted
fantastic.
notes.
Yeah.
We get
It's
through
just
roast.
the roasted notes. A lot of people ask, well, how much coffee do you put in? And there's absolutely none.
Oh, I didn't get any coffee. I know
Oh no,
that.
I can see where
Coffee,
you get.
coffee.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's the big discussion point when I'm doing tours and people talk about, like Cayleigh was mentioning, it's like, oh, it tastes coffee. It's like, well, let me ask you a question. Let me say this word, and then what comes to mind? And then all of a sudden I say roasted, and most people who aren't trying to be a effing smart ass are like, and are actually being honest, they say coffee, right? So inevitably, people have trained their mind to assume when you say something is roasty, then all of a sudden they associate coffee.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like a mind F, if you will. I hate to keep censoring myself, but I think that F word's probably not good to use on your podcast.
It's all good.
Whatever. Okay.
I mean, you don't mind your listeners because our listeners don't care.
Yeah. So it's kind of a mind fuck. I mean, yeah. If you,
I was gonna say, you're
There he
being
goes.
yeah.
Yay,
He's off.
first one.
And there's a strong caramel nose to it.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nope. It's a great beer. Again, it's a really
man.
approachable one. Drinks well all year
complex.
round, whether it's hot or cold. Pairs
Yeah.
well with barbecue. It's just a great beer. It's a great breakfast beer when we're canning too.
Is this one of the ones you recommend that that you get a little more room temperature, or should this kind of be more cold?
We I think that I used to drink it a lot at home. Around the 50 degrees for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's you get a lot more flavor from it when it gets a little bit warmer, but I think
Yeah.
it's still great at 35 or 36, 38. I think it still comes through pretty strong.
There's
It's
a lot
a
of those
solid,
beers that,
solid
depending on how you the nose changes a little bit more if you just get it warmed up just a tad. Kind of like wine and certain wines and all
To me,
that.
a less
those kinds of
hoppier
things.
beer does better when you get
Yeah.
you can start to. The
Like,
hoppier
you know,
it is, the kind of more cold you want it to
Some of the
be.
some of the stouts and the hop for the IPAs and those all I want those ice freaking cold.
Absolutely.
But the stouts and things with a
Right.
little more body and the roasting and all that, you get more of that once it warms up a little bit.
Did you say this is about a 5.5%?
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah, for us craft beer drinkers, that's pretty low on the scale. But people switching from like Miller Lite or Bud Light, that's 4.2.
It'll catch up.
It'll catch up.
It'll catch up to you. And I have to say that being at 5.5%, it's perfect. It doesn't go over well. And when
absolutely.
I got here, I'm from Wyoming originally. There's no cap there. And we were drinking 9-10% beers at the end of a shift. You get a little tipsy. Like coming here, it was
That drive
great.
home
'Cause
kind of sucks. Yeah.
thank God you could walk everywhere where I'm from. It's a tiny town. But the great thing that I've always loved about even Memphis is it's not about the alcohol content. It's playing to the flavor. So
Mhm,
Yeah.
absolutely.
yeah, so they're not brewing beer to see how much alcohol you can get out of it or how many hops go into it. It's about
Right.
the flavor profile,
Yeah.
and that's Scottish ale.
And that's
what shows here. That's why we can tell the difference here, because you guys are brewing for the flavor. You're like, oh, it ends up at this, it ends up at that, but you're more about what the flavor is.
And that's the thing. It shouldn't matter.
Yeah, it shouldn't.
I don't care if it's 5 or it's 15 or.
But I
you
do.
make it
I
a
don't like.
70.
You go to places. There are a few of them that, again, just like the let's put as much hops in it. There's that. Let's get the highest alcohol content that we can get out of this. And you go to some places and everything they have is 8.5% and 9%. It's like, okay, man, I'm only going to drink one or two and I'm out of here because you can't really sit and enjoy yourself. You can't have a few.
you can't marathon it at
no,
all.
you can't.
Yeah.
So
No.
it's like, oh, yeah, I'll try one this time and I'll come back again.
I think it's a funny kitsch, and everybody should maybe try it once. Let's see how high gravity I can make this, but not as something you're like really
But
going to sell.
in the
or-
point to get people to buy more beer.
Yeah.
That's what I tell.
That's-
drinkability is everything.
Yeah.
we
It's
were just discussing that
everything.
too. Brendan and I were discussing the same thing. If you got a 10, even a 10% on average, I'm gonna have one.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you made it about 5, 6 or so, I'll have 2 or 3, and you can still charge about the same price.
I mean,
Yeah.
drinkability is everything, and we try to tell everybody that. I mean, I'm not trying to sell what I have
No.
specifically on that statement, but I mean, it's to our other customers, our retail customers that are buying kegs on a weekly basis for their bars and restaurants. It's like, look, man, this isn't the kiwi mango sour saison, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm not trying to make fun of people that do that, but inevitably restaurants and bars are looking for something sensational every day
Well,
because it's easy
yeah.
for them to market. But how many of those do you sell, Mr. Bartender or Mr.
Yeah.
Restaurant owner? But one.
Yeah.
And every time you go back, they've sold that keg's still sitting there, and
Yeah.
it was probably awesome for one beer. But it's like, yeah, that dude over there that just bought a steak's going to order 3 Scottish ales.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
And
they had
and
that
that's
small
exactly
keg
what I
of
was
that
getting at.
18%er at Eilise, and it sat there a while because we're like, I can't believe it. But it's an 18% beer.
Can't drink
No
that
one's
much.
drinking it. You
Well,
know, 'cause it was like,
And as a bartender, you can't push it that much
Yeah.
from my side of the world.
Yeah.
I've worked at a brewery where they did a 13% strawberry blonde, delicious beer. We had
Wow.
to limit customers to
Yeah.
10-ounce pours because we knew they were going to drive afterwards. So after that, you can't have anything else. So as a bartender, you can't consciously keep pushing it on people because at the end of the day, it's your license on the line, and you're not
yeah.
going to.
Or you
so
can even
it's
take
hard.
driving out of it because
13%
for a
strawberry
consumer
blonde.
standpoint, like Justin said, the Cowboy said, sorry, Cowboy.
Ooh.
I don't care.
I know.
Gave away his name.
Apparently he cares.
I don't know. I feel like there's going to be a conversation.
Oh, there is.
Done.
When we get in that van. Yeah.
Once he finishes the flight, you have a paddle there now with holes in it.
It is very eerily similar to that.
But from a consumer standpoint, if you go out like on a Saturday afternoon, if you just get together and go, hey, let's go hit up a couple craft breweries, and we get one that doesn't have anything again that's under 8% or 9%, I'm going to have one and done. I'm going to go somewhere else and have. If you want to try a few things from there, we want to enjoy the whole day too. And even if you're not driving, you still want to be able to have a few beers each place and enjoy yourself.
I won't say the name, but downtown Indianapolis, there's a brewery. Everything they brew, and you probably know what I'm talking about. Everything they brew is like over 8, 9, 10%, and I'm like, what are you guys doing? You don't even have a beer that somebody who's new to the craft scene can come in here and even try to enjoy, because those, once you get to that higher percentage, somebody that's drinking Miller Lite goes to drink one of those beers, they're immediately turned off.
They're done. Yeah.
They're done. They're like, ooh, this is nasty. And it could be a great beer, but they're not going to perceive that.
They're not going to know. Yeah.
So I don't think it does them any justice either, because they cannot convert any of the mainstream beer drinkers to craft beer just having high gravity beer only. It doesn't make any sense to me why people don't have the lower end of that stuff. And then, like Pat said, maybe have one that you're playing with for fun.
Sure.
You got this one, oh, hey, we have this crazy 13, 14%, but it's a small batch that you guys just did for fun. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Well, that goes back to what we were talking about, the Tennessee state law change into where alcohol content could be, or beer could be a higher alcohol content. And yeah, we had customers coming in all the time. Man, aren't you excited? What are you guys going to do? And I'm like,
the same
if
thing
you really
we've been doing.
Well, yeah, you really want to know my honest to God truth? No, I'm not excited. I mean, yeah, it gives us an opportunity to do some styles that we haven't been able to do because stylistically those things drive a higher alcohol content.
Right.
But, then I ask them, like, okay, obviously you're a craft beer consumer. I hate to say connoisseur, but consumer. You ever had Bigfoot barley wine? You ever drink an entire 6-pack by yourself?
Do you remember?
Yeah, because
I might have.
Yeah, because that headache was a lot like after I drank some Jim Beam. It's a terrible hangover.
Yeah.
And I like drinking, like you guys are talking about. It's not about overindulging. It's about enjoying everybody's company and consuming a great product and not being inebriated. I mean, that's just a coincidence, right? I mean,
well, 20 years ago,
it's a happy
It's a happy
accident.
coincidence.
yeah, exactly. So no. I mean, nobody's out to get tore up drinking craft beer.
No.
It's just
and you're seeing it's a better scene in the bars. You don't see all the the idiots fighting like you do. You're not going out and sitting just bellying up and drinking 20 beers. You're enjoying the craft beer and you're enjoying the different flavors, and it's a different scene.
I think you even see it as the college kids. Like they start to get into it. They're, I wonder, and I've thought, because usually, when I was in college, it was drink beer to get drunk and be stupid. But now you see them appreciating some of the beer more. Maybe not down in a dirty 30, but they're down in a, they're grabbing a couple 6-packs of a craft beer and sharing it and talking and hanging out rather
It's
than
really knocking down the beer pong sales, though.
Yeah, beer pong is suffering a a bit, but I think it's a okay thing to sacrifice.
It's all right.
But no, you're right. I think the college crowd has changed a little bit, and we're in what's called the medical district or the Edge district, and we have a lot of UT medical students who come over. We do a discount pint night for them on Thursdays.
Oh, nice.
They come over and have a pint, and a lot of them would prefer to come here even on a Wednesday or a Friday where they don't get their discounts because they're getting to the point where they prefer this kind of beer versus going and pounding a whole lot of Bud Light, the empty taste of nothing. They're really enjoying it.
And talking about a headache.
Yeah.
And with the high gravity thing, I mean, again, there's certain beers that you expect that, like, if I'm going to drink a Russian Imperial Stout that's been aged for a long time, I'm expecting it's probably going to be 11, 13%, somewhere in that range. But I know what it is, and I'm going to have a little glass because it's going to be super sweet, and that's all I want anyway. I want to sip it. I want to enjoy it. It's not... I'm again, craft beer is... I don't think craft beer is being drank to get drunk anymore.
No.
I think it's a nice side effect occasionally because
Like I said,
I've been
a
sitting at the bar too long, but
Happens.
I never go out anymore and just drink to get drunk. I just, sample craft beers before I know it. I'm like, woo, maybe I had one or two too many.
even with
Did you
the
say stout?
Russian Imperial Stout.
Oh, you did say stout? That's a good segue.
I went to the rye first actually because that rye
skipped.
smelled amazing, and so I
it's
went
fantastic.
to the rye first. It's really good.
It's really solid.
Let's go. All right. So
The rye?
well, we taste
Okay.
this.
Oh, I guess we're
I
all
think
right.
going on his, and we've got we're going to the
Your
rye.
segue,
So we're doing the
your
rye,
segue
the
wasn't as good as what I
Segue
thought.
works. But I think on their point, just because you can do the high gravity now doesn't mean you should.
Mm-hmm.
Word.
Yeah, I agree.
Delicious.
Yep.
So
All
what
right,
was what's your history? How did you get into beer making, and then how was High Cotton born? I mean, what was that process?
So I guess in college, actually, I guess it started really in high school. I had a baby face. I couldn't grow facial hair until like I really got out of college.
So you need to do something to get the ladies.
Well, I needed to be able to illegally buy beer in high school. And I really wasn't, like, even when I got a fake ID, it was like, they kind of look at you and you're like,
I didn't have any
Are we allowing your dad to listen to this now or later?
he found the remnants oftentimes.
I'm sure. I'm sure he did.
I've been gray since I was just like 16. So
you were the stud.
You were the go-to guy.
So anyway,
that and his brother.
So
I that a lot.
I started reading about how to make beer in high school, just trying to, could I make this stuff and drink it as opposed to, having to worry about buying it. I mean, it was stressful, Friday night and there's a big party. It's like, man, I gotta get some beer. Inevitably, I learned the difference between lager and ale at that point when I did just a little bit of research. And then I was like, well, what do I like to drink? And it's like, what is Bud Light? And it's like, and then you find out that making lagers really ain't that easy.
No.
Especially when you're trying to make it in your closet or something. So then that kind of information always sat in the back of my head, just out of curiosity how to make it and what it takes. Well, then moving on into college, the fraternity days were ridiculous with American Light Lager. And then you're right, though. Even when I was in college, which wasn't too long ago, on a Thursday night, we'd buy a 6-pack of Sierra Nevada Pale Ale. And before we started consuming the Dirty 30, as you call it, it was great. I mean, it was fun. It was interesting to start trying to experience craft beer, and Memphis was way behind the curve. So,
yes.
I mean, if it wasn't Sam Adams or Sierra Nevada, I mean, there really wasn't much of a selection here at that point. So that really struck my interest. And then once I got out of school, I had some free time. It was unbelievable. It's like, wow, I don't really have school to worry about. I'm at home, had an all right job, and what do I do every afternoon aside from get drunk, and that's what I was doing, just drinking a bunch of beer. So then I was thinking, well, this
sucks.
Yeah, and actually Dogfish Head 60 Minute was one of those things we were talking about earlier, was like the breaking point for me. I was like, man, this.
We always ask everybody about their AHA beers.
This is like, the light went off, and I'm like, good God. And
the hell's this swill I've been drinking?
Man, this is
why did I do this?
Unbelievable stuff. So then I got really, really motivated. Did some research about Dogfish Head. Read about Sam Cayleigh.
Very cool company.
Yeah. It's super cool. I've actually met him in person.
Oh, really?
He's an unbelievable dude. Anyhow, after that, I did a lot of research and just got obsessed with home brewing. Just freakish. Brewing once or twice every weekend.
So all strictly homebrew taught?
All, yeah. So I was an engineer by trade before.
Oh, all right.
So it was, I guess, applied science wasn't something foreign to me, but it was no way, shape, or form creative at all.
No.
and I still don't consider myself a creative person. I mean, honest to God, I go, when we have a new beer on tap, I go to Cayleigh and I'm like, so we got this really good beer, and it's this kind of beer, but what the hell should we call it?
There's a lot of round table discussion, and I think
names are a pain for
It
beer.
usually takes half a keg, but you guys get through it.
What's hard too,
probably an
especially with craft beer.
description,
Well,
actually.
are you guys? Because I saw I haven't seen. I don't know if you've got any weird names for it. I mean, they're pretty. Are you just keeping kind of the standard style type names? Because otherwise, everybody else is like, drowning monkey, stout or something
How
like.
long can we make the label and how obnoxious?
Hey, I think I just made up a new beer name. I'm gonna write that down. Trademark.
Write it down. Trade it.
And it's hard because if you get one out and it starts to get big, and next thing you know, oh shit, some brewer out in Wyoming's been had the same name for 10 years, and they call you and hey, you better rename that beer, boys.
It's difficult.
Yeah.
You run into it. So
it's like a burlesque.
Well, we had a friend who got who somebody sent him a cease and desist letter because he was using the word pumpkin in his beer name.
Like what you call your 3-year-old son, like.
Hey, pumpkin,
It's like,
clean
and
up
they
your room.
trademark the word pumpkin.
I mean, we kind of talk about this quite a bit up in Indy, and I don't know how the scene is around here, but in Indy, we have a very, very good scene where the brewers all work together. I mean, there's no one fighting for that huge slice of pie in Indy. It seems like everyone's willing to work together, and
There's there's a big sense of camaraderie, I think, in just about any local craft beer scene, or even when you get brewers from other places. I think that there's just a weird sense of camaraderie. I'm not used to it either. It's unbelievable, but inevitably, I explain it to people in this way that there's really only one person that we're all competing against, and that's Bud.
Oh yeah.
You know, when they own the market share that they own as far as beer being consumed, that indirectly is everybody's. I mean, that's who you're fighting for. Now, do other craft breweries take other craft breweries tap handles and stuff in the bar? Yeah, sure, that happens. But you know what? That's because some bars are still too scared to take off Bud Light.
Yeah.
So I think that, and it's great to talk about. I mean, I love it. I mean, we've got 4 breweries here in town and a brew pub, but the 4 breweries here, the way I feel about them is we're all on a first name basis. And the guys that I deal with there, I have their cell phone numbers, and when I call, I don't get the FU button. So I feel like we're all pretty tight. And I mean, we're not all out fishing and drinking beer every afternoon together, but at the same time, there's a strong sense of camaraderie where whatever we need, you know. Golly, I don't know what my tab is over at Memphis Made, but there's like this just constant. I mean, like we like share supply houses. I mean, you know,
we do some days.
I mean,
but it's a great experience to be able to share with them, and a lot of people come in. Well, what do you think of Isaac, or what do you think of Memphis Made? We're happy to have them because you're not going to come to town just to drink one brewery's beer.
Right.
You're going to come, you want to try a couple of things. And we were happy when Ghost River opened up their tap room downtown because it added an extra stop for people to kind of and really make a beer tour and do all of that. And you just get to share in it. And, you know, there's no hard feelings. Some people have a better beer some days.
Well, and it makes you guys better, too.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes the other breweries better by someone else because there's always going to be someone doing something better than you are.
Sure.
So...
Or just an idea you haven't thought of. Ooh,
Yeah.
Wow, that's really good. Actually, we should make something like that.
Well,
I mean,
I don't know if we asked this before, and maybe I missed it. When did you guys when did you start? When were you? Did you just open this? Did you start somewhere smaller before?
No, this is the original facility. We bought this building June of 2012, and
it's a beautiful building.
Thank you.
I mean, it's
Thank
old.
you.
It gets I like it.
So I like to call it quirky.
Yeah, it's got
character.
It's kind of narrow and long, but that fall and that winter we built out the brewery in 2012, and then into 2013 by the spring we had run some test batches and started selling our first kegs out the door. Then in June of 2014 we opened up the tap room. We bought this building with that awesome front end, with the awesome facade and everything. And we bought it with the intention of opening a tap room.
Okay.
But we said, hey, let's just make sure everybody really likes the beer before we go and invest a whole bunch of money into a tap room. So
How are you getting the beer out then? I mean, just producing?
we were just producing enough to keg and sell to draft accounts. So
Okay.
nothing was being retailed out front.
Okay.
It was just a man in a van selling kegs. You've seen that Sam Adams commercial where he's walking down the street with a dolly and some bottles. I mean, that's literally what's going on.
Yeah.
Is there's a dude that hops out of a van with a dolly and we go drop off a keg.
He doesn't give himself enough credit. These guys were trying to work their day jobs.
Yeah.
And then come in and brew at night and do all of this. And
that's hard.
They worked their butts off to get as far as they did on that.
That's a common story because everybody's trying, and you really got to get something rolling before you can really take that leap and try to drop the day job, and this becomes all of it. It's got to be that's a hard time and decision to get to.
It can be for sure. It was for us, and it was. Most of us probably were about to get divorces. And
how many of you are there?
There is. I've got 3 partners, me and 2 other guys. So
all brewers, or just you, the brewer, and the recipe maker?
That's how it all kind of really got started, was home brewing, and they're all brewers.
Okay.
So
were you guys all friends and say let's?
No.
Or did it all come? Okay.
No.
That's what's even better about it. They didn't know each other up until this.
So you
started.
you out looking. This is what you're doing, looking for a partner in the business, and
kind of, yeah. I mean, one of the guys that I'd brewed with some. I mean, we hadn't been like lifelong buddies or anything, but we'd been brewing together for a little while. And then the other guy, we just kind of met by chance at some homebrew competitions and festivals and such. A guy came up to me and had that Scottish ale. That was one of the recipes I'd really got obsessed with when I was homebrewing. And guy came up to me and he's like, "Man, this is commercially viable." And I'll definitely put my hats off to these guys. This was kind of the other turning point for me. Next to Dogfish Head 60 Minute was one of the brewers and sales guys at Yazoo Brewing, which is a big regional brewery out of Nashville.
Yeah, we were there last year.
Yeah, they were trying some of my homebrew, and they're like, "Man, this is commercially viable, right?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Man, this is the best compliment I've ever got," because anybody else who's drinking homebrew and anybody that's ever homebrewed before, when do you ever get a negative comment when you're giving somebody free beer? And if somebody gives you a negative comment about free beer, they can kiss your ass.
No kidding.
By the way, your beer is off.
Let me have another one.
That compliment was way better than Rebecca telling me I was pretty in 6th grade.
So yeah, commercially viable. That was huge. And so when I got that little piece of information, maybe it gave me a little bit of a head on my shoulders. And then, second of all, we kind of really started thinking about it. It's like, man, can we really do this? And actually ran into my other partner Ross, and he had bought a 7-barrel brewery out of a kind of an out of old brew pub in Knoxville, Tennessee, about 10 years before we'd met. But he's an airline pilot, home brewer, but airline pilot during the day, and just didn't really have the time to do it.
Yeah, it's hard to put that stuff in the cockpit.
So he had it stored in a barn out north of here at his dad's place, and when we got together, he's like, "Yeah, I think we can make a go of this." So he'd had this stuff in storage forever.
It's like everything just started falling together.
It started falling together. It's unbelievable, really, to think about it now. So
Yeah.
we kind of got started
awesome.
homebrewing, bumped into some people, right place, right time, had the right stuff, and we made it happen.
Awesome.
Very nice.
What's the High Cotton vision?
Vision.
Sell beer.
Yeah. I think that right now we're looking to grow a little bit more along the lines of more individual packaging. So right now we're canning our ESB and our Scottish. We'd like to add maybe a third and a fourth line up to that.
Are you building a canner? Are you here, or you got the mobile canning guys coming
We've got
down?
the mobile canning guys helping us. That's been huge. They're out of Nashville.
Yeah, those guys found a good niche too. I was
Did
like,
they?
I wish
No
I had
kidding.
come up with something like that.
That's huge.
Like, holy, yeah, that's an awesome
put it on wheels.
mobile canning facility. Gee whiz.
yeah, oftentimes I dream about that. I'm like, God, I got the wrong damn business.
I got on the wrong ground floor.
Even if the beer sucks, I get paid. Jeez.
Yeah, there's no worries in your line.
Could
Yeah.
have wandered
thing you
around
gotta
and
do is
tried a
make
whole bunch of beer over
Only,
time.
only thing you got to do is make sure your equipment's clean. We've run into a few. We've heard a couple stories where it was dirty, and they canned a bunch of stuff, and they ended up having to throw it out because the canning equipment was dirty. But it happens. Beer's sensitive.
Sure it is.
You gotta
Yes.
keep this stuff clean unless you're really going for a sour or something.
Unintentionally.
Yes.
Yeah. Oops. I mean to.
But yeah, I think right now we're happy where we're at, and I think that we've kind of got some other plans that aren't exactly brewery related, but industry related. So maybe diversifying our brand and our company in other ways. So I don't want to be too vague, but I mean,
you're fine.
That's kind of what that's. It's I think right now, local is a really big thing, but I think it's going to stay kind of a thing just because of
I hope to God
function.
it does, yeah.
Yeah, not really out of any sort of mainstream deal, but just out of function. And I think that growing to be a regional and a national brewery, it's going to be a tough row to hoe these days because there's so many little guys popping up that we see it all the time. I mean, another brewery comes in from out of wherever, and they stick around the market for a little while, but just because they're just another brand on the wall now. And then maybe in Indianapolis, for instance, they're the greatest thing since sliced bread. But when they come to Memphis, they're just another beer on the shelf.
Right.
Whereas Memphians are like, oh, well, man, that's Waziger. Oh, man, that's Ghost River or High Cotton.
Right.
I'm buying that because I know that dude, and it's a local beer.
And your laws though you can't export outside of your county, right?
Just because I self-distribute.
Okay.
If I were using the second part of the three-tiered system,
right, okay,
if I was
right.
using a distributor,
Right.
if I were, I guess, selling this as a manufacturer to a wholesaler, and then
Because that seems to be maybe one of the next steps. Because like Indiana, they can drive it down outside of their county and self-distribute all over the place without a problem. And I feel it seems like in my mind it's a little weird because like technically Indiana could come down here and put a beer in your county, but you can't go up to
Indiana can't leave
No?
Indiana.
Oh, it can't.
Yeah.
Okay, it just has to
No.
stay in it, but they can leave counties.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
they leave
Oh,
counties,
okay,
but
I gotcha.
Whole new
So-
lane going. Yeah.
All right, I'm still learning a couple of the new Indiana's got enough weird laws on its own,
Yeah. Sure.
but their laws have been conducive, at least for a while, to allow for the explosion.
Yes.
Sounds like the laws in Tennessee, are at least, maybe have been. I think you said they were a little behind.
yeah,
and so you're because it's just starting up here, right? I mean, really, the craft beer scene's really kind of new.
It's
Ish?
as far as newish
Ish.
for sure. I mean, we're
The
the Southeast is just at least 10 years behind a trend on the West Coast. I mean, for real. And so when folks like you guys up north in the Midwest and the Northeast, I mean, maybe it's like a 5-year curve for y'all. I mean, we're still another 5 years behind you.
Figure it out.
So that's kind of we're a little bit behind. We've got some breweries that have been here. I mean, like Abita, for instance.
Yeah.
Abita's been around since I think the early 90s. They've been around a minute. There's Yazoo. I mean, they've been around since early 2000s. I know that's not super
I was thinking
old.
more Memphis. From
but
a
yeah,
Memphis
for Memphis,
standpoint, it's newer because Nashville has a few already. And we did a Nashville trip last year and did a lot of those. But yeah, it seems to be a little. It's just starting to pick up, and maybe more breweries and more stuff will come out as the laws relax and maybe make it a little easier to get your name out there.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Well, and then as the consumer becomes more educated here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. That makes a lot of sense.
By the way, your stout
I have a beer.
is fantastic.
Dig
Holy
it.
crap. Did
Sec-
you drink it
Second
already?
segue.
Did you drink it?
Yeah, you guys, I couldn't quit.
I drank the rye, so now I'm on the stout.
Well, I like to go in the order they wanted us to go to.
We just kind of
Just popped them on there.
that was kind of the way we poured them off
That
the tap.
stout's fantastic. It's super clean. It's refreshing for a stout.
Well, it's gotten down to a nice room, a decent temperature too. I like the stouts a little a little warmer.
So it's
It's a
not-
creamier stout.
Yeah.
It's not as bitter. And
That's
it's
milky.
got,
It's definitely milky.
Oatmeal coffee stout?
So it's kind of a weird thing. There's sweet stouts, there's dry stouts, there's milk stouts, there's oatmeal stouts, right? We kind of liked a lot about all of those, and so we kind of do kind of a hybrid milk oatmeal stout. It's so we use some oatmeal to give that heavy mouthfeel, and then some of that lactose sugar to give it that sweetness.
cream, I'm still getting that nice dryness, that bitter on the back end, and it's good.
But the thing is, it's not so heavy that you can't just drink one or two.
Oh, no.
I mean, you can have 4 or 5 of those and not be
absolutely.
beer full. You know what I mean?
Ask the folks at our Christmas party.
I want to come to your Christmas party.
They don't remember.
We have a good time.
Yeah.
Pretty sure they don't remember. Do they remember it?
Some of us do, not all of us, but just depends on
If you
what-
had any Sailor
what year?
cherries.
Yeah. What year?
So I know we're getting pretty close on time, but the one thing I wanted to touch back on real quick was when you said everybody should be against Budweiser. It made me laugh because literally we say we try not to talk bad about breweries. They're the one brewery I'm surprised hasn't come back to try to sue us because if we're not slamming on them, our guests usually are, and it's like the whole craft scene together is just united against them because of the awful, horrible things that they're doing. Their ad campaigns,
They don't have the time.
tactics,
Their tactics.
it's disgusting the tactics they use to try to put the small guys out of business, and
Well, the nail in the
And you
coffin
don't
for
have
me
to.
is not that they're no longer American. I mean,
that
come on.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
All the
Yep.
beers go
You're
under
absolutely
one.
right.
All the beers are under one place now, pretty much.
And
yeah.
that now is terrible. But I mean, shoot. Even when I was younger, once I heard that the Belgian company bought them, it's like, man, that's just like, man, is apple pie going to be made, in Belgium now? It's
Yep.
like,
Yeah.
no.
The king of beers, all the red, white, and blue campaign. I'm like, really? It's
I thought there
you're
was
not
a
Yeah,
law
then
American.
they, then they
Monopolies.
strapped the America thing on it this
Yeah,
summer.
they had,
and
they had the
everything. It's
cans
like,
with
yeah.
America. Yeah, America. Really?
Well, that's
No.
because people are realizing they're not.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
they had to do something to try to.
Yeah, there's been a lot of rebranding on their end to try and keep people.
They've had
But
to.
I think
yeah.
people saw right through that. I think it was actually worse for them.
It was brainwashing. Oh, we're still American. No, you're not. Those of us that know.
I think it was a backfire on them because
Yeah.
I really think they should have just embraced what they did. No, don't go turn America, on it, and you just look like a fool.
They just want to drag people through the mud with them, and they're going to continue trying. I remember there's a whole big fuss over after Super Bowl. There's a whole bunch of people trying to boycott Budweiser,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they can't. They're not even spelling it correctly, and Budweiser's trying to cover their tracks on it. And hey, I understand they're trying to make money too, but at the end of the day, like Ryan said, not only are you no longer an American company, you've sold out, you're also trying to drag a whole bunch of other people down this drain with you, and you're taking away from what we hold dear, what we work our butts off for.
Yeah.
And this is, it's
And how
made
they
here.
got started, because they do have a great history of
Yeah.
building
Yeah.
and what
Yeah.
they did here.
It's sad. Yeah.
So why wreck it for this craft community that's coming up that did what you did? Embrace it.
This is, America's a really young country
Yeah.
as the world history goes. And we are just now developing our own culture, and craft beer is a huge part of that, in my opinion. I'm not just trying to say that because we make it here, but I think that this is one of the things that we can actually call our own.
It's like jazz.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the IPA. I mean, maybe another country kind of came up with the idea, but there is nothing like an American IPA.
Right.
And, I mean, these are things that we can hang our hat on at the end of the day as Americans that we can all be proud of. And I'm not trying to get all patriotic, but this is American culture.
Because look at what craft beer did. When Guinness is making black IPAs and now they're making rye, Guinness has been around for they never had to do anything but make Guinness.
Yeah.
Now they're having to do this because of the craft beer and here in America.
They're actually they're opening. I was talking on the trip down. Guinness is opening up a facility in Baltimore, and the Baltimore microbrewers and all them are protesting because they're like, well, you're gonna mess up our stuff. Why? But then I was also laughing too because I'm hoping it was a typo, and they but in the news article said they're going to build a $50 million facility in Baltimore or something, and it's going to create 70 jobs. Just 70?
Just
really?
70? Like, that's it? Really?
For $50 million, you're only going to get 70 people? Yay, robots.
Yeah.
I say, and 40 of them are probably all coming over.
Yeah, pound sarcasm. No,
that's silly.
I always wonder, like, if the founders of, like Budweiser, like, if they were still alive today, wouldn't they be embarrassed about what their own company was doing? Because,
I would think so.
Because they started out like a lot of these craft breweries did, like we just talked about. They were proud of their brew. They were proud of, expanding it and how people felt about it and all that. I bet they would be turning their graves if they knew how disgusting their company had been turned into.
They were geniuses. I mean, look at
they
were supplying furniture. Hey, you build a bar. Here's all the furniture you need. Just make sure you get a silver beer in there. I mean, what they did was genius. And then the refrigerating carts. I mean,
no soul anymore, too. No heart.
Yeah.
It got bastardized along the way. It got greed.
Well, it's the ever. It's when you go public, and it's it's the ever reaching thing for profit for your shareholders.
Absolutely,
that's it. Period.
The American dream has changed for the worse,
and that tends to happen with a lot of those things in the industry. Though you go public and you got shareholders now, it's no longer about what you're doing; it's they're bitching about making profit.
And they've left their roots because Budweiser is born out of the idea. I'm the crazy historian of the group, but
great.
Prohibition time, beer got its big start because everybody had to brew stuff on their own. I mean, that's how we had like ham and Schlitz and all of that. Budweiser comes out of the gate. It's from people who were trying to make sure they had some sort of alcohol besides bathtub gin, which you ever know how that's made. It can kill you if you do it wrong.
Yeah.
And like, it's the whole thing of we did this in a bathtub. We figured it out. It's American done, and it's lost now. It's just lost to the idea. And it's what's great about craft brewing is all these guys
redoing it.
They were doing it in their garage or their closet when they were in high school, trying to be the popular one. And like now, it's grown up.
And that's the and that was the kind of the problem in that Budweiser's now. They thought of it as it was no threat. The original craft brewers, those kinds of things were never at a threat, but now they are,
right?
And they can make profit and they can go somewhere, and now they see that as okay. I'm just going to gobble up the little guy.
Yeah. Well, 10 years ago, they were still making fun of the craft brew business in articles, and they're saying, they got nothing to worry about those guys, and now they're going, secretly putting out their They're
like, these guys got some. These guys know how to make some tasty beer. What the hell are we doing? Oops.
But hats off to them. I mean, there's some other parts of history to Budweiser that some people, I think the general public definitely doesn't recognize that really loves craft beer is that Budweiser led the way in R&D as far as the brewing industry, period.
Yeah.
Yeast propagation, mainly like hop development. Now, they were selfishly looking for like the biggest, most powerful hop so they could buy less of it to make Budweiser.
Oh, okay.
But it's secretly, they developed stuff that is now in our everyday IPAs.
They developed American hops.
They developed American hops and paid for that kind of R&D to now craft brewers like us, it's like, now we've got Columbus. This is awesome. This is a great hop.
You got a point there. Yeah. I didn't think about that.
So I mean, let's beat them up all day long because we want to take more of their market share. But at the same time, it was really great to have them and the kind of money that they had to spend on R&D.
Right.
I mean, good God. I mean, we're just fortunate to have had that in our history. So now we've got this just grand assortment of hop varieties that can do a lot of great things.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just
Gotcha.
I applaud them for telling me I need to go find more into beer, because that's where I started, was Bud Light. That was my my first beer was a Bud Light, because I was drinking whiskey and Everclear in high school. We were drinking beer. We were drinking the hard stuff, and Bud Light started. But then it was like, okay, there's more. There's all these other flavors, and you can do this to a beer. You can make so. Hey, I do gotta give hats off to them. They got me into beer, and look where I'm at.
Well, that was my first time I got drunk. My brother got me like a 6-pack of Bud Light and a 40 of Molson or something, I think it was. But and I'm 14. That night did not, and I wanted to keep up with the big boys.
Sure,
it did not go well at all. And I did not touch beer again until after
3
college. Because in high school, once I got up into high school and stuff, I was just drinking Southern Comfort.
God. Yeah.
All right, so as we were talking, Budweiser's done a lot of great things, but I'm sorry, I support my craft beer industry.
Evil. Yeah, they're the big evil.
No doubt about it. Wasn't trying to take that away from them at all. They are terrible.
No. So anyway, but all of them have that great history. Everything's got that. Any of the big industries, the McDonald's of all that, they've all got a awesome history to them, and then they just get stuck in the corporate. It's the corporate world and all that. So
we hate to end this, but we're running out of time here, guys. So
out of beer. I'm out of beer.
Yeah. Once again, though, we appreciate you guys having us out here. This place is phenomenal. I absolutely love your facility. I love your beer. We're gonna keep doing what we do, and that's support you guys and get the word out there the best we can for you. And if we have listeners in Tennessee, we're gonna drive them over here for you, because wow, this is great stuff. You guys are doing great things here. We appreciate everything you guys are doing.
It's the least we can do. I mean, I know we didn't talk too much about it, but at the very least, High Cotton means hospitality. And
it absolutely
and if we got a name like High Cotton, then it's really hard for us not to be hospitable, even though that's the kind of people that we are.
Yeah.
But no, we're flattered to death to have y'all, and appreciate you coming down.
Well, thanks for having us once again.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers.